Welcome to Inside Brussels, the European Conservatives' monthly news show. Last time, we checked in from the European Parliament on the night of the EU elections. That night, millions of Europeans voted for conservative parties who support national sovereignty and democracy against the rule of Brussels' lifeless bureaucracy. The big winners of those elections were the sovereigntist and national conservative parties who triumphed from France and Italy to Austria and Hungary and made big gains in Germany, the Netherlands and elsewhere. The big losers were the left and the Greens, the loudest supporters of more centralized control from Brussels. So, was this the moment when European politics would be changed for good? What happened next? The first thing that happened was the center-left ignored the election results and decided it would be business as usual in Brussels. They did a deal to reappoint Ursula von der Leyen as president of the Commission and to reaffirm their support for disastrous policies of the Migration Pact and the Green Deal. And they announced a cordon sanitaire of non-cooperation around the insurgent right-wing parties to ensure that EU politics is vaccinated against what they call the virus of populism. How can von der Leyen and the Brussels elites claim to defend democracy by blacklisting the parties supported by millions of European voters? The other thing that happened was that the right in the European Parliament reorganized to give a voice to the masses ignored by the center. In the weeks following the election, two new parliamentary groups emerged. One of them, the Patriots for Europe, has grown to be the third largest party family in the entire parliament in a single week, becoming the leading force on the national conservative sovereignty stride. The three conservative groups, the Patriots, ECR, and the also newly founded Europe of Sovereign Nations, also called as ESN, together now represent over 100 million Europeans in Brussels. Yet, despite this shift to the right, the mainstream Brussels elite, including Ursula von der Leyen as the unelected queen of the European Union, managed to cling to its power through backroom deals that were made in these halls. Von der Leyen's center-left coalition now not only includes her centrist EPP, the socialist SD, and the liberal Renew, but also the Greens, who have been most rejected by the voters yet, now are given free rein to continue their disastrous net zero agenda. Put simply, the people of Europe have been cheated by politics once again and democracy thrown out the window. So, what does this all mean for the next 5 years of politics in the EU? We will find out from our distinguished guests, the MEPs, Ms. Enikő Győri from Hungary's Fidesz and Mr. Hermann Tertsch from the Spanish Vox and Vice President of Patriots for Europe. Thank you so much, Ms. Győri, Mr. Tertsch, for joining me in the studio today. Ladies first, Ms. Győri, how would you evaluate the election results in general? What was the message that the voters sent to Brussels?
Well, I am very pleased that more than 18 million Europeans casted their vote in favor of change. And the change is represented by forces of the right, like Vox. Pleased to meet you, Hermann, here. And other parties. And it's not just the case that we have a proper representation, but we have a new group. And this group is for changing, for having Europe according to the wishes of the people. And what my worry from the very first moment after the election was that the Ancien regime will not give up. The mainstream parties decided to make a coalition from EPP till the very left, being united because they are fear of this change, because they know that they are in danger, and many people don't like what happened in the last 5 years, what happened in the last the mandate of Ursula von der Leyen. So I think this coalition is which is now evolving, and we were suffering the consequences today of this ancien regime coalition, is that they don't want this change to take over in Brussels, and they don't mind using illegal behaviors and not using the traditions which have always reigned in this house. So I think it's a very, very difficult, very delicate, and very anti-democratic situation what we have to face in our everyday business now in the European Parliament.
Ursula von der Leyen's recent re-election as Commission President is the beginning, or rather the continuation of a rather different path. Mr. Tertsch, how could Ursula von der Leyen forge an even more leftist coalition, and what kind of policies can we expect in the next 5 years?
Well, the next 5 years are very long, and let's see, because it's going to be changing faster than they want. And so I think it's a coalition of fear, what they made up. I mean, it's a coalition of the PP who benefited of the, paradoxically, benefited of the conservative, enormous conservative drift of the European electorate. They benefited from it, but immediately they grasped to go with the losers. And with the losers, with all the left. But as the losers, every time more smaller, they have to take more losers. And so they have to take wider parts of the extreme left. And so we come to this grotesque situation where the People's Party is voting for an extreme left communist who is pro-Hamas, who is militantly anti-Semitic, for a vice presidency in the parliament, just to avoid that we get, the Patriots of Europe, get this vice presidency. And they give this vice presidency to a really vicious figure of the French extreme left, which is, as I say, has all the anti-Semitic, pro-terrorism. It's almost the worst you can find in the European Parliament. And there you have it. And today happened a little bit the same. No, I mean, if you see the commissions, we saw a commission where a Spanish member of the People's Party, Javier Zarzalejos, was named president of the Libe Commission, and then he was after giving our vice presidency of the commission to the extreme left, he was there celebrating it from the PP, celebrating it with a member of Bildu ETA, which is a group from the far left terrorist group of ETA, which has killed thousands of Spaniards, innocent Spaniards. And these people are there with the PP celebrating that they are making a kind of cordon sanitaire, or sanitaire, insidious. I mean, it's a toxic cordon where they are inside. We are outside. We are the better. I mean, we are not encircled. We are not getting the posts we deserve and we have the right to get. But the ones who are really now imprisoned, more or less, encapsulated with terrorists, with the far left, with the worst, is the People's Party.
You mentioned the cordon sanitaire. We're going to mention this in a moment, but let's circle back to the Patriots for Europe group. So the biggest surprise in this election cycle was the birth of the Patriots for Europe group, which became the largest national conservative bloc overnight. Ms. Győri, as a member of Fidesz, you must have been very close to the early negotiations. I'm sorry for phrasing this this way, but what people are interested in knowing is whether the Patriots for Europe is kind of a rebranding of ID or a completely new creation in itself.
It's a new creation. Of course, we were recruiting quite many members from ID, but the basis of work for this new group is a manifesto which was adopted first by 3 political parties, by ANU from the Czech Republic, Fidesz from Hungary, and Freiheit from Austria, and the other parties agreed to that document, and that's the basis of our work. So this group will cooperate very closely on certain issues which are very close to our mind and to our heart. Sovereignty is a must for us. Member states are the foundations of the European Union. We are against a federalist structure. What Ursula von der Leyen presented in her speech, of course, she wanted to please the left because she wanted to get elected by day votes, is a frightening federalist idea. She wants to control everything at European level. She even had a sentence that if Europeans are interested in something, then we have to go for it, which means that she would neglect the treaties and the division of competences, which is quite well laid down in the Lisbon Treaty, because she says it doesn't matter. So rule of law has become a term that can exclusively used by the ancien regime if they feel like. Because what happens now and what happened, and Hermann was very clear on that, what happened in the European parliamentary committees today has nothing to do with rule of law, because in the treaty it clearly says that the committee structure of this house has to reflect the diversity of the political convictions of this house.
Representation.
It's exactly the opposite what happened. So it's very anti-democratic to neglect 18 million voters. It's not with the rules, and it's not in line with the traditions of this house. And she was mentioning rule of law in her speech, saying that all the EU money will have to be conditional on rule of law. But who decides rule of law?
Yeah,
she will decide about it. We suffered. Hungarians have suffered it. The previous Polish government suffered it. Our groups is suffering it. And we don't want Europe to go to this direction. So that's why we said a clear no to her introductory speech. And that's why we were not in favor of her re-election. So we have very strong fundamentals for our cooperation. We are anti-migration, anti-federal Europe. We want strict border controls and keep our member states strong. But having strong member states doesn't mean that we don't want a strong Europe. No, Europe is strong by having strong member states, strong institutions, which cooperate as it is laid down in the treaties. And we don't want this kind of very discretionary use of rule of law. We are very much against that. And I think it creates a good glue for all our parties to work together.
The thing is, it's awfully arbitrary. Arbitrary is everything what they do. So, I mean, if you see in Spain, you had continuous violations of the rule of law in the last 5 years, brutal violations. The most brutal violations of the rule of law, unconstitutional, illegal, cooperation with criminals, coups has been done by the socialist and communist government of Sanchez. And now they are in a corruption case with a wife, with this brother, with the parents and so on. Everybody is corrupt. Everybody is there violating the law from power. I mean, and nothing happened. And
Barca didn't say a word on that.
And they don't say a word. And von der Leyen is really delighted about Mr. Sanchez. In this sense, there's no law anymore. It's a kind of despotism, which in an arbitrary way says, well, I like them because they're progressive. I don't like them because they're conservative, and so on. And they act as if it was a government. It was never said that this commission is a service for the nations. So they are servant of our nations, and they have to help the nations to do what the nations want. It's not a government above the nations, which is governing the nations and putting orders and punishing governments. I mean, it's upside down, everything. Subsidiarity has been abolished, and they want to go themselves with their power, with their ruling, with their regulation fanatism. They want to go in every house, in every corner, even in every mind. of the young people. I mean, it's what they are creating is a monster, and we are the alternative to this monster. We are the ones who are liberating space for the resistance to this monster, and we are growing every day, and they are coming down, and they are weaker, and they are weaker and weaker every day, and they know it. And that's why we come to this situation. They try to use all the powers they have to create situations which are irreversible in their favor. We will not allow it. And as I say, these 5 years will be very long. Every national election in Europe will be a reminder of the treason of the People's Party to their voters. And you will see it in Austria in 2 months, and you will see it everywhere. And so we will see what happens after 2 years, and where all these parties which are still asking their voters to vote them because they are conservative, and they are the best friends of terrorists, of anti-Semites, of socialists, and of communists. We will see where they are in the favor of their people and of their electorate. No? So it's a great bet for the Patriots to bring truth into, and we hope a big cooperation with ECR. We hope a big cooperation with all groups that want to join this front of resistance to a centralized mega Europe, socialist, social engineering in a monstrous way. No. We are as I say, we are growing, and we will sum up and bring. We are going to grow every year, every time, every day. We are growing in the favor of the voters, and they will pay for it dearly.
You mentioned the term cordon sanitaire. It is an important term that is being now thrown around in the European Parliament. It's a practice to exclude, in this case, the Patriots from positions of power. So, Ms. Győri, how does it look? What does it look like in practice, and what, if any, democratic legitimacy does it have?
I have the impression that as many people speak about this cordon sanitaire, many people don't even know what it means. You have explained it, to exclude a party from the division of important positions in this house. But cordon sanitaire is mentioned by the ancien regime, the mainstream parties, as if it was a legitimate tool to use it. No, cordon sanitaire is completely anti-democratic. It's not included in the treaties. It's not a rule that exists. It's a political tactic, as Hermann has just described it. The glue in this is the fear, because they don't want any change. So now what they are doing with this coalition from EPP to the communists, keep us out of the power, from the positions that would correspond us according to the Don't system, which has always been the principle of distribution of seats and political positions in this house. So it's ignored. And people mention it at cordon sanitaire as if it was something that legitimate, compatible with rule of law, which is not the case. So I am really very curious how we will work in the future, because I'm sure that if certain people who haven't lost their common sense yet want to adopt good rules, they will need us. So I will see that when we get to the substance, and not just with this predator behavior going for positions, whether they will be able to act in favor of European citizens. So I'm very curious what September will bring us for in this front.
You mentioned a strong cooperation with ECR. So it is kind of a question for both of you. Is there a chance that ECR could help the Patriots break this undemocratic quarantine, perhaps by the midterm reshuffling in 2.5 years, or even sooner?
We will see. We will see. I mean, we'll see how ECR develops. We will see how we develop. We have many things in common. We vote together. So many things. We have helped together. We have helped each other already now, and we will do it in this next time for sure a lot. So the thing is, What our real goal now is to get all the conservative vote to the positions of having a real political conservative positions. And the vote, the conservative vote, is kidnapped in the People's Party. The People's Party plays conservative when they are in election campaign. And then they are socialists. We have a socialist People's Party, or People's Socialist Party, as you like. And that's the truth. That's the truth now. That's the case. So what we have to have is we have to rescue the votes, the conservative votes that live as hostages in the PP, that are kidnapped by the PP.
I think ECR is a true conservative party. They were not voting, most of them was not voting in favor of Ursula von der Leyen.
No.
They kept their word concerning the votes in the committees. They are against Cordon Sanitaire because they are democracy-driven people. So, and I very much appreciate that. And on most issues, we agree with them. But who are the real fake conservatives, as Hermann said, the EPP. You see what they promised during the electoral campaign? They were betraying their voters now, and now they are going back. And Ursula von der Leyen was speaking in her speech on a clean industrial deal instead of the Green Deal. But the funny thing is that everything was bad in the Green Deal was designed by the Commission led by Ursula von der Leyen and voted by EPP.
Sure.
So now they want to rectify it, the same people, to rectify those errors they made, because they voted in favor of all the bad things for which our farmers have become very angry, for which energy prices are skyrocketing. So actually they want to a kind of autocorrection, but it was mostly an electoral slogan and not a real change the EPP is in favor for. So that's why I would call them a fake conservatives, but real conservatives are ECR and Patriots.
I wish you all and the Patriots best and best of luck.
Thank you for the
very much.
invitation.